Hello, and welcome to the Spread NESN's Football Picks Podcast. I am NESN.com's Mike Cole, and for the first time in 2024, I am once again joined by Ricky Doyle. Ricky, how are you?
I'm good. Happy New Year, Mike.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Let's get that out of the way early.
Yeah, we don't need to do the whole, when does it
start?
Yeah.
But it's good that we can. There's a lot of Happy New Year's flying around the office today.
Oh, my God.
You want to do some quick office talk?
Yeah.
There's a lot.
It's
everywhere. And I'm not just confined to our one company. Like everywhere in the building. Went down to the downstairs bathroom. A lot of foot traffic down there. A lot of Happy New Year's being exchanged. So, yeah.
It is kind of ridiculous, not to get off on a New Year's tangent, but if you really just think about the idea that time is arbitrary, the calendar is arbitrary, the fact that we all come together and celebrate and pretend that this is any different than any other day, except for the fact that we had some time
pat each other on the back.
Yeah. Congratulations for living a predetermined amount of time. It's basically like we all kind of celebrate a birthday together. It's an odd situation. By the way, shout out Teddy Cole, my son. Happy birthday to him. Actually has a birthday on January 1st. So he's getting it on both ends. I'm sure he's getting happy birthdays and Happy New Year in his return to the office. So.
Yeah. Well, our esteemed boss said that prior to New Year's, on about December 29th, he got a Merry Christmas, which threw him for a loop. Which I said, you have an entire month leading up to Christmas to get that out of the system. So if you're, I'll even give you a day or two after.
Yeah, at least.
You get to the 20. Once the 30 starts, once there's a 3 in front of the.
You know what?
Tape,
actually, I'm pretty sure
you got to move on to the new year.
I'm pretty sure he hit me with a Merry Christmas on the 26th, and even then I was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird."
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I'm actually formulating an opinion as this in real time.
Maybe he was telling the story. Maybe it was him.
That's a good cover.
He just wanted to see how I would respond.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So he knew that you didn't.
He just
take
took a bunch of heat over the weekend for saying that, and he's like, maybe I'm not the. Yeah. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
No, not really.
Mine is to
I'm not a big resolution guy.
I'm not either. Well,
if you're gonna make the change,
I look at it as I just got done poo-pooing it as a arbitrary thing. It is a nice time to do a hard reset if you do need that. You know what I think, not to get off on another tangent, SMART goals, whatever those, it's the acronym. I can't begin to tell you what they stand for.
We do them around here.
I think they're garbage. It's a horrible way of improving yourself. I think goals should be results-based, not necessarily product-based.
Yeah.
So I would say if I were to give you a resolution for myself for 2024, it would be to get in our picks a little bit quicker at the top of the spread.
Yeah, that's a good call. Good call.
So,
I was gonna say we did our resolutions last week, betting related and
that's true.
Such. So
yeah,
I guess you don't.
Oh, that actually reminds me. This would have been a good week to do it too. I went back and so we have our weekly newsletter, the spread, for highlighting some of our betting content throughout the week, and I do I just for the newsletter type of little story, article, column every week. This past week,
I'm subscribed. So
I just went back and looked at some of our preseason predictions. I might do the opposite. I did what we got right last week. I might do what we got wrong this week.
Which you probably have maybe a bigger pool to splash into.
I tell you what, the NESN Bets crew, pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah,
we nailed some things this year. So I'm sure you and I may have stumbled into some wins here and there over the season as well.
Probably. You know what? Maybe even starting with the MVP. I think
this isn't exactly right. That's a great point.
I think we were both
came up in my
very high on both the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Obviously, kind of go hand in hand. But I looking back, I'd have to pull up the notes from the beginning of the year. But I think there was a lot that we could.
Yeah, we'll dig into maybe a little bit farther if we're feeling. We'll look at it, see how well we did. If we did well, we'll
maybe
bring
while
it
we're
up.
opening some spoiler.
So we got some stuff.
Yeah, we opening something at the end. Yeah, as we typically do. You never know what we're gonna open up. Could be cards.
I can't tell if this one's a stretch, if it's borderline offensive, if it's what. But we'll get into that at the end of the show. We're into week 18 here in the NFL. Traditionally, a very difficult week to pick. Would you rather try to pick week 1 or week 18 if you had to choose?
Week 1.
I think I'd go week 18.
All right.
But I feel like
I feel like
go ahead, yeah.
Because you do so much research in the lead up to the season that when you get into week 1, you feel good about it sometimes. And now I'm just like, I get to week 18, and then you got to start factoring. So week 1, everybody's playing. Everybody's healthy's playing. Yeah. The stakes are what the stakes are. It's week 1, whatever. Yeah. And then you get to week 18, and you got to start factoring in all these other things. Weather is much more of an issue. So yeah.
Yeah, but like I guess you're, when we get into like the product versus process, I don't know. I think my process feels a lot better when I have.
Maybe that's my resolution then. Be more process oriented.
But I guess your process is there. You're talking about
it's just a different process.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all right. It's just a little ass backwards.
Streamline the process some way. So yeah, all right. So we'll try
to sit out week 1 and week 18 moving forward.
That probably is a smart thing to do.
Yeah, we'll just deal within the.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past we've have not done final week episodes.
Correct.
On occasion,
but I think there's enough on the line here this week.
This is a decent schedule here.
You talked me into this one. I will say that.
Yeah,
get that out of the way because I'm like, do you want to just go talk about stuff? And that's I think people are clearly here for the picks. Obviously, all the hundreds of people who watch and listen to this. So, so we'll do our best. We're gonna go 3-unit, 2-unit, 1-unit plays across the board here. Everything's on the table. Whoever you want. I think all 3 of my games are from matchups that are pretty useless. I'll be honest with you. So I think maybe that's a strategy, right? It's try to pick off, but then it comes down to feel and things like that. So we'll get into
if you pick a very useless game, if you like two useless teams in a game, this is, I would think, less variance, right? Like you don't have one team playing for a playoff berth and another team who's resting its starters and
that being
whatever.
said, in the process of this, I got into variance based on like what could happen by halftime. So this is a lot of
2 Saturday games.
Yeah,
so
a lot of moving parts. So anyway, hit me with your 3-unit pick for week 18 of the 2023 season.
So I'm actually going to look at one of those Saturday games.
Sure.
So actually, let me ask you this first.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you use it, but like I recently got a thing at the end of the year from FanDuel basically saying like your most bet on teams, the longest long shot that you won, how much you won and lost, whatever. You think you could guess my 3 most bet on teams of 2023? And I'm assuming this means both for and against, because there's no way a couple of these teams I backed as much as maybe.
Let's see.
Multiple sports too.
Oh, multiple sports. Yeah. I will say the Indianapolis Colts.
Almost as if you know where I'm going with one of my picks. I mean, you had the 4 teams that you could pick from right
there. The Celtics.
Yes, very good.
And the San Diego Padres.
No, that's another good guess.
Yeah.
Chicago Bears.
That was going to be
number 3.
Say the Bears. And I talked myself
Colts, Celtics, Bears, my top 3.
God,
like I said, I think that must include any bet related to those games. The Celtics was definitely heavy in the Eastern Conference Finals, I would imagine. But anyways, that's all I have to say. That I'm going back to that well to start 2024. So I don't learn my lesson clearly because I'm going into a Colts game here and I'm betting it against the Colts. I'm going to take the Texans. They're getting a point on the road Saturday night. I mean, my trepidation about Houston last week with, maybe there'd be some C.J. Stroud rust upon coming back from the concussion. Clearly wasn't. Very good, 24-32, 213 yards, a TD. We've seen that, obviously, him being back in there raises Houston's offensive ceiling. You look back to even the week 2 loss against Indianapolis. He was good in that game. Nico Collins back healthy. I guess if there was one thing you can point to in that Tennessee game, it was the fact that they left some points out there. But Tennessee does have the NFL's number 1 red zone defense. Indy's more middle of the pack. So maybe you see some positive regression there. I also think Houston's defense is well positioned to stop Indianapolis. Will Anderson coming back in week 17. Defensive line looked much better. And that's a defense that's already ranked number 3 in rush EPA for the season. So maybe you take away Jonathan Taylor. Like Derek Stingley could take away Michael Pittman a little bit. It's just, I'm looking at these 2 teams. I think Houston's just better offensively and defensively, whereas the Colts, time and time again this year, we've talked about how their path to victory is sustainable. So obviously this line indicates it's a coin flip, and if that's the case, I will take the better team. So yeah, Houston going right. And me being the resident expert on the Indianapolis Colts, clearly.
I was gonna say these two teams, I don't have a good feel for at all. This game is, I guess I'll watch it and be fairly entertained. Other than that, I don't know.
Could you say that about every team in the AFC South and NFC South?
Yeah, that's
which
fair.
is like it's really the theme of the weekend, right? It's these two
just
South divisions.
Get out of my face.
Very pesky.
Yeah.
But like
about to get their doors blown off in the wild card round.
But they could be entertaining games, though. You know what I mean? Like I guess we'll probably get into this at the end about whether any of these teams can make any serious noise in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But going head to head with a playoff berth on the line, like that's how I talked myself into this week, at least.
Sure. Digging into this now, I there's a lot.
And didn't I say as my resolution last week, one of them being that I would not force bets on standalone games, and here I am taking a Saturday game
as your
right
top
off the
pick
rip
of
is my 3. I'll never. This is why I don't do resolutions, Mike. I don't do them.
Well, there's plenty of time.
I don't even last 48 hours into it.
You look at that one way. I say you've got plenty of time to fix yourself over the course of the year.
Maybe I just trust my process so much, and I'm like, I don't need to make any changes.
I mean, the problem with that is, at some point you do have to kind of change your process, but that's neither here nor there. We'll get down the line. So
maybe next year.
Speaking of the process and all of that, Bill Belichick is repeatedly sidestepped all the questions about his future or lack thereof with the Patriots. He is on record as saying we're only to a fault or whatever. He's laser focused on the next game. He was laser focused on Buffalo last week. They covered one of my picks. Going back to that well here, taking the Patriots as 2.5-point favorites at home against the Jets. The Patriots, I know that this spans a lot of different quarterbacks, different rosters, coaching staffs, etc. I think they've won 15 straight against the Jets. If there's one thing that you can kind of set your arbitrary calendar to, it's Bill Belichick beating the heads off of the Jets multiple times every season. I have no reason to believe that the Jets are going to change that this week in a game that neither team has anything to play for. I can't imagine the Jets are too thrilled about having to come to Foxborough to play a 1 o'clock game in front of nobody when it's going to be snowing, probably. There's snow in the forecast this weekend for New England, so make sure you gas up that snowblower and get your shovels out. I just think this is a very strong narrative play for me, but I think we're getting, and maybe it's in the snow and it looks even cooler. They put them on their shoulders. Belichick is literally carried off the field on people's shoulders. I think they are going to play balls to the wall to try to win for him. Again, my working theory is that they already either know formally or informally that he has no chance of coaching this team next year. Maybe that changes. I don't know. But I think they continue to play that way. I think they continue to play hard for him. We've seen that in recent weeks. We even saw it last week. Like they kept that game as close as they could against Buffalo, despite the fact that they turned it over 4 times. Now, the fact that they can turn the ball over 4 times, slight problem when you're talking about covering a game here. But especially against a really good defense like the Jets have. I just think this is a really, really low-scoring game. I think the total is 30.5. I didn't want to deal with that. But I think the Patriots find a way to win this game like 17-13 or something like that. They have the second best defense in the NFL behind Chicago by EPA since week 10. I know I've kind of banged that drum a ton. I think last week, again, it was a reason why I'm a little more comfortable taking them now recently than I have in past weeks. Like, it's pretty buttoned up with the defense, and, the defense has saved their bacon a few times where it's bad turnovers. We talked about the Denver game early in that game, or even last week. The fact that they didn't give up 50 points when, turning the ball over 4 times is pretty impressive, including one of those touchdowns was on a pick 6. Also, you look at the Jets, they're going to lean on Breece Hall, been fantastic for them the last couple of weeks. 33 carries, 179 yards. He's got 21 catches over the last 2 weeks. If there's one more hey, don't let the best player beat you special from Bill Belichick, I think it's here. And I'm honestly, if you take that away, then what do the Jets do? I have no idea.
Breece Hall is the one guy you watch now, and you're like, put that on the fantasy radar. He looks good.
Our league was won by Breece Hall. I will say that. And then I just think, again, they're not tanking, obviously. And I don't know. Is he going to lose to the Jets? I mean, it would be a fitting way to end
the Jets. They feel like they've quit much more than the Patriots.
And I just guess technically the Patriots could still win this game, still carry off Belichick on their shoulders and not cover the 2.5. But I think if they're going to win, they're going to get it by at least a field goal.
What a good full circle moment. What if he just goes up to the podium post game with it written on a post-it note? I resign as head coach of any.
Yeah. I think it wouldn't be the most surprising thing to happen all weekend. So, I will take the Patriots here, and I think what is basically like a mini homecoming type of deal. I think, again, this is very narrative-based, but a lot of it has to do with also the fact that the Jets don't feel like they have a whole lot going on either. So
that said, a win would totally suck for the Patriots. No.
Yeah, so that's the other thing is
if you gotta think he's getting up extra for this game. The last thing he wants to do is leave this franchise and leave him knowing how spiteful Bill Belichick is.
Yeah.
Do you think he wants to leave them with the number 2 pick and a potential franchise quarterback?
Yeah. It's not his problem.
I gotta think he wants them to be rudderless next year.
There could be that too. Yeah. So that's certainly there as well. So I think they find a way to win it. Relatively comfortable.
I mean, for all the reasons you mentioned and obviously the draft implications, this is a pretty big day in the history of the Patriots.
Yeah.
It's not hyperbolic to say that. Whatever happens on Sunday, could change the trajectory here.
It's an end of an era one way or another, probably. Yeah. But it could, if you feel a lot better about it.
All surrounding what amounts to a meaningless football game as it relates to playoffs and whatnot. So
yeah, so I think
it's just a very weird vibe.
I think
I'm with you. I need some weather here. That'd be just.
It sounds like there's gonna be some snow, so we'll see. Which 2 unit play?
2 unit play. I'm going to. So last week, I bet against the Saints, much to my demise. I'm going to do it again this week.
Sure.
Go right back there. I'm going to take the Falcons, 3.5-point underdogs in New Orleans. It's like my brain just can't go from, laying 3.5 against New Orleans last week to now all of a sudden they're 3.5-point favorites at home. The 7-point swing isn't sitting well with me. And I think a lot of that Saints-Bucks game too, I don't know how much of that you watched. I mean, God bless you if you did.
Did not watch a ton, no.
I mean, you had some turnovers in Saints territory. I think they turned the ball over 4 times. Tampa averaged 7 yards per play, so there was some third down issues, obviously the red zone problem. So, it wasn't an overly impressive performance by the Saints, and, the path here would be if Atlanta, as they've done multiple times this season, shoots themselves in the foot. It's a very real possibility.
Yep.
But I'm so out on the Saints team, I think. The fact that and maybe it's the hook that's getting me in there too, but the 3.5. But yeah, this is another one of those weird divisional matchups. I'm just all over the South divisions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I God bless you. I'm not gonna.
I mean, New Orleans' offense just does not do it for me.
No.
Which is weird because there's some talent there, right? But it's never really felt right this year.
No. That I honestly don't have a whole lot to add to that one because, again, I'm not gonna. I'm really gonna go out of my way.
It just feels like an overreaction to go from to have that much of a swing, and knowing that. I mean, obviously, too, the numbers inflated a little bit by Atlanta laying an egg against Chicago last week. So I just feel like I'm buying them at the bottom of their market, and I'd much rather do that than buy in on the Saints at the top of their market.
That's fair. Yeah. This is going to be... Just get the South out of my face. I don't. It's just so bad. All right. For my 2-unit pick, I'm going to... This is kind of the same idea or the opposite, I guess, of what you were talking about. I was on the Chiefs last week. Probably didn't deserve to win that one, but I got home there anyway. I'm going against the Chiefs this week. I'll take the Chargers as 2-point favorites at home. Right? This game is in Los Angeles. I don't really care where they play. I'm pretty sure it's in Los Angeles. Against the Chiefs, I think outside of the 1 seeds, the Chiefs might be the only team that are completely locked into a seeding. they cannot move. They are the 3 seed in the AFC no matter what. Last time, I saw this on sportsline.com. Last time the Chiefs were in a similar situation was week 17 in 2020. They rested all of their starters at home and lost 38-21 to the Chargers. Granted, that was Justin Herbert, but still just a game that they seemed more than inclined to just give away. I saw this quote attributed to Chris Jones. Quote, if Coach Reed decides to rest us, I will more than likely take the rest. I can use a week off. I feel a few nicks and bruises, and I'm quite sure our team could use it. So that either sounds like somebody's been told he's not going to play in week 18, or it sounds like a team that if they do play those guys in week 18, they are not going to play very well, and they are not going to be prepared. So I think they don't play anyone. God bless you if you got tickets to this game and you're going to go out and check it out. And I think, we talked about like how the Jets have nothing to play for. Theoretically, the Chargers should be in the same spot. I do think it's a little bit different because
the coaching change in and of itself changes.
I think, and that's
calculus,
the thing,
right?
And I was reading up on the Chargers, and they had a lot of good things to say about was Giff Smith, who took over for Staley. They want to play well for him. They've played hard for him. Whether or not they've played well is another thing. But I do think this is another spot where it's like, who knows what this guy's future is? He's not going to be the head coach of this team moving forward. Let's get him one more win to kind of send him out the door. We feel good about him. We like him. Like, there's some good Khalil Mack quotes about how excited they are to play for him. So I think they find a way to get it done and roll to a pretty easy win here.
Yeah, like to your point about the Chiefs too. Like, if there's one team in the NFL that probably isn't concerned about the rust factor, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
some
right.
teams
they've been doing this all year.
They'll keep the starters in for a quarter and then pull them, whereas like the Chiefs are obviously have gone on these deep runs several years. Like, the coaching staff is well equipped to handle a situation where it's not going to be a problem getting them up for their first playoff game.
And like this chemistry problem, or not problem, but like this chemistry question, like this whole thing, it's been a year-long thing so taking 1 week off is not going to hinder them one way or another. They're still playing the same puzzle and trying to figure that out. So I don't think it shouldn't be a huge concern for them. I think it's get everybody as healthy as possible and roll from there. So yeah, I guess I'll take the Chargers here. What's your 1 unit play?
So I'm going to look at a game where you have one team that's locked into a spot, being the Ravens, who, by the way, owe us a gigantic thank you, because we sat here a couple of weeks ago and talked about how they kind of lacked that impressive win.
Yeah.
It was true. They were doing it, but they didn't really have the signature moment yet. Yeah. And then they come out and they have a 14-point win over the 49ers, and then the 37-point win over Miami or something.
Beat the piss out
and suddenly look like clearly the best team in the AFC and perhaps the best team in the NFL. So you're welcome.
That's all us.
This week, though, nothing to play for. Their opponent, Steelers, a lot to play for. So this makes one of the pick it aside things sort of tricky. So I'm going to look at a total, though. I'm going to go over 36.5, which that number has dropped. Let me figure out where it opened at. But, I mean, it's understandable because you're figuring in Baltimore's offensive starters are not going to play much, if at all. But I don't know. I like Tyler Huntley. Like, I think that Baltimore offense is functionable with him back there.
Open at 38.5, by the way.
Yeah, and so we've seen that when Lamar's missed time in the past, where he comes in. I mean, he had a touchdown pass past week. He's fully capable of running that offense, and I think a lot of it too is some of the skill set is similar, so you don't have to adjust too much. Pittsburgh's offense, I don't think it still isn't great, but they've certainly had more energy playing under Mason Rudolph. Yep. So with this total dropping, and I suspect that it'll only drop before the game, so maybe even wait on this a little bit. But that's a very low number for two teams that I think that their offense is capable of. I think at least one of them is capable of getting up to 20. So maybe you get a 2017 game here, and you just sneak over. A very low total.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I like that. Unless Malik Cunningham plays for the Ravens.
So that's my one fear. I mean, I'm working under the assumption that it's going to be Huntley, but if Cunningham plays, then all bets are off because it's.
I did. I hate people say this, but I tweeted that over the weekend. Like the final, just hilarious domino to fall for the Patriots quarterback situation is for like Malik Cunningham to come in. They give Huntley the first half, and Cunningham comes in the second half and like throws for 2 and rushes for another.
Put 40 on the Steelers.
Yeah, he looks awesome. Just kills the Steelers. I hope that's what happens because that would just be it would be a nice cherry on that Sunday. So, interesting. I like that play though. I think one other play I like is my 1 unit play. I'm gonna go to the Giants-Eagles game. I'm gonna take the under 41. It sounds like Philly is going to rest some players. They technically still have something to play for.
Also, too, like, even if they had absolutely nothing to play for, don't you think they're in a little bit different situation as opposed to the Chiefs who we were just talking about? Like, how just ugly it has looked for the Eagles.
So you're saying they should play guys?
Yeah, like I don't
think they're going to play anybody.
See, I would want, if I'm in their position, to at least have, like, the Chiefs. Everybody don't even show up to the stadium.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The Eagles, like, after what we've seen from them over the back half of the season, I want you coming in and putting in the work.
I respectfully disagree. Because, like, again, they technically still win the division, but the Cowboys have to lose. And the Cowboys, I think, are like 13.5-point favorites against Washington. Yeah. They should take care of business.
Which would be a very Dallas loss.
That would be awesome.
That's not
I looked at that one, too, grabbing the points with Washington there. But, no. I think Philly. I think both those games are 4:25 kickoffs, so Philly will have an eye on that score. I think they build a lead early enough, come out at halftime, realize they've got no chance, call off the dogs. Even if they don't build a lead, they'll call off the dogs. I guess one thing I could have considered here was taking the points with the Giants, but I just don't like that idea because you just never know how it kind of plays out. I just think it's a little safer to take the total and go under. Basically banking on the Eagles resting everybody and basically betting against the Giants' ineptitude offensively, although they looked a little bit better. They've looked better since they benched what's-his-face, the chicken cutlet kid. So I think that there's a chance that they struggle. I know, although the Eagles' defense has been absolutely horrendous for a while, but it has not gotten any better since they handed it over to Matt Patricia. So that does kind of open my eyes. I think this is another game that does have weather considerations as well. How badly do you want to kind of get your nose dirty if it's it's cold and you got a game that really doesn't mean much? I think these are going to be two teams pretty content with just punting the ball back and forth to each other, especially in the second half. So I just think that this is going to be a bit of a rock fight. Going back to the rest thing, I think Sirianni already kind of hinted at the possibility of resting guys. Devontae Smith has, he have, an ankle injury, so he's probably not going to play. I think you look at, I get what you're saying, like you want to try to get it right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen in one game against the Giants. So I think you're better off resting those guys because you know what will really screw you? If Jason Kelce gets hurt or, Jalen Hurts or AJ. Like, so you might as well just rest those guys and don't even take the chance and just hope that, like, when you reconvene for Wild Card Weekend, when you're hosting whoever, like, you get it right and you kind of just find. That's kind of been their thing. Well, that's kind of how I've looked at the Eagles all year.
Well, they'll be traveling, right? They'll be.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because they would. So they'll go to the South. The team of the. Yeah.
So I mean, you're really working off the assumption, if you're the Eagles in that case, that Dallas is going to take care of it.
Yeah, sure. So like maybe they look up at halftime and it's a.
You should reinsert in the start.
Yeah, I would be really. No,
like, I mean? Like,
I think they play the first half, but I think they'll look up at halftime and be like, well. But I do wonder like what the calculus is for at that point. Like, what do you do? What does the score have to be in your game plus their game to feel comfortable taking out guys?
Yeah.
So there is that unknown. But to the thing about the rest and stuff, I think this has been the Eagles thing the entire year. I've kind of hit on this in multiple facets, kind of looking at like they just need to get to the playoffs and to have a chance. And maybe this is a Super Bowl hangover that has been a season-long hangover. As you get older, those hangovers seem to, they tend to last
just give it up altogether.
maybe this thing lasts all season and they just get bounced. Kind of like the Bucs last year, although the Bucs are coming off of that Super Bowl. Like, I think if I were an Eagles fan, I'd be like, I'm holding out hope that they are saving their best for when the playoffs roll around and they're able to turn it on. It might be too far gone at this point, but I just would operate under that false sense of optimism if I were an Eagles fan.
It's funny. They're almost like the Buffalo of the NFC in that regard, to where if like you get in and would it shock anyone if they made a run to the Super Bowl? But then like the difference obviously is being that like Buffalo's been fighting for their playoff lives for a month now, and Philly, like, they've kind of been on cruise control and just trying to sort things out for the better part of a month. But it's weird though, because like
nobody ever believed them when they were like 11-3 or whatever. Nobody believed that they were, and they got, was it back-to-back weeks? They got stomped by the 49ers and stomped by the Cowboys, and it feels like they've been fragile ever since.
Yeah.
So there are questions about them.
And it's the defense too. It's like, because you just kind of kept looking at it and you're like, there's enough talent there. They should turn things around. And then you get all of a sudden it's week 18. And not only have they not fixed things, but it seems to be getting progressively worse.
That was one I was watching that because I had Jalen Hurts in fantasy. And so I was watching the end of that game. And it's like, all right, just let this thing get to overtime. You give up a field goal at the end. And Arizona marched down the field on them. It was like they had no chance. So that's something they got to figure out. I don't know.
Just to talk about like the Cowboys, if there's any upset potential there in Washington. So like Washington on the money line is plus 610. Eagles, you can get them to win the division right now at plus 750. So if you think that the Cowboys are going to lose,
all it takes is a win, an Eagles win and a Cowboys loss. I haven't looked at that.
Yes.
Yet. Okay, then I would much rather do that.
So, if you're feeling crazy,
it's a good idea.
You think that
I like that.
There's upset potential in the nation's capital. Maybe just take the Eagles to win the division.
True, like it. I don't think you can parlay that. That'd be sick. Good though. I
don't think that's an option.
They do not let you do that.
But
so, all right. So it's New Year's, and I think, for me at least, New Year's Eve has become synonymous with Chinese food.
Yeah.
That's a thing, right? Like people.
Yeah, because it's open late.
Yeah.
So usually by that point you want something that's gonna sit in the stomach. You build up an appetite. That's a fair point late, too, so yeah.
So we got Chinese food. My wife and I did for New Year's Eve, as we've done the last couple of years. And so we got some fortune cookies, and we figured we have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's just dig into some fortune
cookies.
Leave
it to the cookie.
So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to open one of these. I'm going to crack it open. I'm going to read you the fortune, and you're just going to tell me what team, player, idea comes to mind here.
We'll wing it.
Well, yeah, we're going to sell.
What did you guys get, by the way? Anything good?
No, just the usual. I always go with the General Gauze.
Oh, okay.
Is that how you... I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I've got something I don't like.
An assortment of apps?
No, I made apps.
Okay.
So I made some mashed potato egg rolls and a French onion dip bread thing. I don't know how to use it. So, yeah.
All right. So Teddy was eating good.
Teddy doesn't eat that. No, he's just eating other stuff. Raspberries and crackers. Anyway, this one feels like an easy one. This is unbelievable. Play poker, win Bitcoin. Anyway,
is that a QR code?
Yeah, but they've
really evolved.
The fortune is here.
It's getting way too high. They're going to be digital soon. Digital cookies.
So it says your intuition will drive new opportunity.
Your intuition will drive new opportunity. So now I got to give you a team.
I think this applies.
You said it was a layup. Yeah.
I think it's Bill Belichick.
Okay.
He has. Does anyone have more football intuition than Bill Belichick at this point? You could argue it's a little dated, yes, but I think they're going to go 5-12 this season. They look horrible. They look terrible. He can't coach offense by the looks of it. Can't pick a quarterback by the looks of it. Has issues with others, pretty much that entire side of the ball, but he still has forgotten more football than any of us will ever know, and I'm gonna call that intuition. It's gonna drive new opportunity. I think if and when he gets fired by the Patriots, he's gonna have opportunities. I think there are gonna be teams, maybe the Chargers. We talked about the Chargers are gonna be more than willing to scoop him up. I think he brings some situational, awareness, some institutional knowledge. I think he's gonna get a chance.
Okay. I see. I was leaning like I was leaning Houston. And maybe, because this is a first big NFL game for C.J. Stroud. Pressure packed. Just go out and play, right? Your intuition on the field is going to guide your performance, get you into the playoffs.
That's a fair one, too.
And once you get in, they'll be it could be the 4 seed. You play a team like Cleveland. There's upset potential there, so I'm leaning. So we're on two opposite ends of the spectrum. You got the 72-year-old head coach, or however old he is, and
22-year-old quarterback. Face of the franchise. All right, we're on to something here.
We're rocking and rolling. All right,
we're feeling it here. The process, sticking to the process. So, let's see what else.
How many of these we got?
We don't need to do it.
Yeah, we'll do 3. 3 is good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Crumbs all over my. Here we go.
All right.
Come on, this is a bad fortune. In terms of, this is not a whole lot of creativity here. When opportunity knocks, answer the door.
Ooh. So
it could be literally anyone, not everyone, but there's a lot of opportunities here.
So this is how I'll spin that, and I'll pose it we'll turn it into a question.
Sure.
So of these teams, the playoff hopefuls going into Week 18, who has the best opportunity to win a playoff game if they get in? Aside from, let's throw a team like Buffalo out.
Okay.
I'm thinking the South teams or Green Bay.
I'm gonna go with the Green Bay Pack
because it's twofold, right? Like you got to look at obviously the team. They've got to be good.
Yeah.
But also very much matchup driven.
My biggest concern with the team, I'm going to take the Packers. I think my biggest concern with a team like the Packers is they have to win this week. And I know everything pretty much for the last 20, 30 years tells you that they are just going to shove the Bears in the locker, take care of business, get in. I'm choking on fortune cookies, which is probably not a great sign for my pick here. I think they get in, they find a way to, beat the Bears. If that happens, they probably go to Dallas. I haven't really looked into it too much. That's a game Dallas wants no part of, in my opinion.
I agree with you. Yeah.
I think either Dallas or Detroit don't want to see the Packers come into town.
I was gonna say I'm getting very maybe it's just like the fast track of a potentially high scoring game, but very much like the Thanksgiving game against Detroit. I could see a similar situation playing out like that against. I
think in a vacuum,
Dallas
has a much better defense than Detroit does, so it's not a perfect comparison. The Packers offense, if it can get healthy, which is a wild thing to say considering how well it's played, but if they can find a way to go into that game with both Jaden Reed and Christian Watson healthy and ready to go, and both the running backs are okay, they can hang. I think they get shredded offensively because Joe Barry is still Joe Barry, and I'm not letting a strong performance against Jaron and Hall and Nick Mullins throw me off the scent. But I do think that they could go toe-to-toe with the Cowboys and have a chance to win late. So I think the problem is he's got to beat the Bears, and I think it would be hilariously Packer for them to just fall in their face once again, similar to what they did last year against the Lions. It's basically like the same situation.
I don't really know what the alternative would be. What was the fortune again? I don't know what the alternative.
When opportunity knocks, answers the door.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we talked about how bad Philly has looked, so whoever ends up playing them. But I look at the 3 candidates there: Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta. I think Tampa Bay is really the only one that I would feel good about potentially pulling off an upset.
And I also don't think, not to get too granular, but when opportunity knocks, feels like the Packers are a team that have been given a second life.
Yeah.
Whereas all these other teams are kind of just playing survival of the fittest.
Yeah. But I guess I would look at Tampa as obviously whoever wins that division will be hosting that playoff game.
That is an opportunity.
So
to knock off the Eagles and get a little hot.
If the Eagles get in there, and Tampa Bay's defense has been mostly healthy for a change.
You know what?
Maybe they step up.
You know what team we didn't give enough credence here?
Who's that?
The Rams.
Yeah,
they would fit in this too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guess they're already in there though, so that's why I kind of.
Oh, sure, okay, I see what you're saying. Yes,
but I
think they're
going to talk me in. I'm all in on that.
I will be picking them in the wild next weekend. I will be taking them with the points.
Yeah. Okay, I'll open one.
All right, go ahead.
Maybe we'll wrap it up after this one.
Yeah, I got crumbs everywhere.
You like fortune cookies?
They're fine. They do.
I wish they would
clean the palate though.
I wish they were like chocolate.
I was just gonna say, you want some chocolate?
Yeah,
I think they
should
those.
have multiple flavors.
I think they probably do.
No, here we go. Another opportunity one. Opportunity is right at your fingertips. That's the same thing.
That's it?
Yeah.
It sounds like there should be an opportunity for a new fortune cookie, right?
Yeah. Open it up. Open another one.
Last one.
I got crumbs everywhere.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, come in here. Clean crew to kick my ass.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I think we're just learning here that all fortune cookies are the same fortune, which I guess makes sense. It's kind of like a horoscope. Yeah, pretty much.
Unbelievable.
Try your luck. You never know what can happen.
All right, open them. Let's open them all. Exhaust all options. I'm starting to get pissed off. Oh, what you got though? So you might be driving back there tonight.
What does this say?
Send them the YouTube link later.
This slip may be worth $1 million.
That's what that says?
That's on the other side. Nope. Well, now we're talking. Your life of prosperity starts today.
Okay.
Doesn't really feel applicable to what we're doing here.
No. Today. I mean, today's who's today a big day for?
Somebody out of the college football.
There you go.
Realm.
Michael Penix.
Yeah. Perfect. Would you draft Michael Penix in the first round if you had a pick? And where would you take him?
Probably back half of the first round. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know. I'm also not as sold on him as maybe some other people. I think there's a lot of victims of the moment right now after what we saw on Monday night.
The tough spot not going into, but from what I know, the Texas defense is not nearly as good as Michigan.
That's what I'm saying. I think the conversation might be, when we sit here next week and do this, might be a lot different.
Yes.
Which again, you should know enough about these guys right now to have an idea of where things are going before the pre-draft process. I don't think next week's performance necessarily should dictate where he goes in the draft, at least from a negative standpoint. But I mean, let's face it, he's got weapons. Like you said, much better matchup than facing Michigan in the national championship.
A lot of questions.
I'm just not ready to go there with him just yet.
Interesting take from Pro Football Network, who says he's a potential round 1 pick, but medicals will be big if he's cleared during the combine. 6-year senior, injury history.
He's 30 years old and he's had 4 season-ending surgeries.
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know if that's necessarily who I'd like to put my franchise on the shoulders of.
So his life of prosperity did not start.
No, it's quite the opposite.
We have
just dumped all over him.
But hey, try your luck. You never know what can happen. Yeah. So,
but I guess that could apply to anybody who starts this week because guys are getting rest.
Sure. Yeah.
Some guy he's playing for his next job. That's the thing. It's 80% of these guys don't know where they're going to play next year.
Or my guy Giff Smith.
There you go.
Something like that.
Perfect.
Anything else?
No.
Let's get out of here. Let's go eat some fortune cookies and clean up
crumbs and write a strongly worded email to wherever you get those fortune cookies.
That's
just don't know if I use my NESN email address or my own personal account. Maybe create a burner account.
Give me some chocolate. That's Ricky. I'm Mike. This is The Spread. We'll be back again next week. Playoffs start next week, so we'll have fun then. So thanks for joining us, and see you again next week. Goodbye.